I normally, when I introduce individuals in this kind of a context, I try to go through a fairly lengthy bio and take the things out that I don't think will be terribly interesting. And I tried that with Lord Monckton's bio and found I really couldn't do it because there's nothing uninteresting in there. So I'm just going to give it all to you because it's very impressive. Christopher Walter Monckton, 3rd Viscount Monckton of Brenchley, is a world-famous writer, columnist, business consultant, and inventor. He served as a policy advisor to one of my personal heroes, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, from 1982 to 1986. He was educated at Harrow School and Churchill College, Cambridge, and University College, Cardiff. Lord Monckton has argued against anthropogenic climate change in many venues, such as the Cambridge Union, and has published papers in scientific journals and newspaper articles on the subject. He has drawn attention to the lack of a scientific consensus on climate change, calling it, quote, unscientific, freedom-destroying nonsense, unquote. He sued to get, quote, the great climate change swindle shown in schools in the UK as an alternative to former U.S. Vice President Al Gore's film, An Inconvenient Truth. In 2007, in a series of ads he ran in the New York Times and the Washington Post, Lord Monckton challenged Gore to a series of debates on anthropogenic climate change. To this day, Gore has not responded. Also in 2007, he issued an analysis and summary of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 4th Assessment Report on Climate Change. He speaks at climate change conferences around the world, arguing that the theories of man-made global warming are deeply flawed in their science and have led to profoundly bad public policy. It is indeed my honor and privilege to introduce to you Lord Monckton. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Tom. Hello, Minnesota. I'm practicing to run for president. I understand that all I need is a nice, freshly minted Hawaiian birth certificate. Tom, after that magnificent introduction, I just can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. Now, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change doesn't do simple. It wouldn't call a spade a spade. It would call it a one-person-operated, manually controlled, foot-powered implement of simple and robust, yet adequately efficacious lignometallic composition, designated primarily, though by no means exclusively, for utilization on the part of hourly paid operatives deployed in the agricultural, horticultural, or constructional trades or industries, as the case may be, for purposes of carrying out such excavational tasks or duties as may from time to time be designated by supervisory grades as being necessary, expedient, desirable, apposite, or germane with regard to the ongoing furtherance of the task or objective in hand, or on the other hand, underfoot Secretary General. A horse goes into a bar, and the barman says, "Why the long face?" "Because it's a horse, you idiot." Most of the points I'm going to be making to you today will be as blindingly obvious as that, because one of the curious features of this debate, which you will have noticed yourselves, and I'm very pleased to see so many of you who have turned out on a cold night to come and hear this, is that the forces of darkness, I call them the bedwetters for convenience, have managed to make the absurd seem obvious and the obvious seem absurd. And so we are going to turn that back and make the obvious obvious once again. Now, one thing I'm not going to do in this presentation is to say that we can screw up the environment as much as we feel like, that we can just make a mess and pollute and take profit from messing up the planet. And I thought that film we've just seen made the point very well, that it is in fact the richer countries that keep a cleaner environment. If you go to the former Soviet Union, or still worse to China or to India, the filth and pollution are indescribable. Why? Because the poverty is monstrous. The same in Africa, the same in parts of South America, in the great cities like Mexico City, Sao Paulo. Terrible filth, squalor, and pollution, and death from pollution. And we don't want pollution, we want a clean planet. And therefore, we do not want, for we are all environmentalists, we all love the planet that the good Lord has given us. And he's given us the stewardship of it. Genesis chapter 1, verse 22. Very clear what our obligations are as stewards of the planet. We are to look after all that is in it and over it and under it and swimming in the sea. And we are not, therefore, to exercise that stewardship given to us by our Creator in an irresponsible fashion. Therefore, it is important that we do not waste money, effort, time, or resources on non-problems, such as global warming, as I shall show you that it is. Now, the gentleman you see on the Iraqi banknote there flourished 1,000 years ago. He is Abu Ali ibn al-Hasan ibn al-Husayn ibn al-Husayn ibn al-Haytham. And he was one of the foremost mathematicians and scientists of his day. And in those days, scientists were rather beautifully described as seekers after truth. And he said, the seeker after truth does not simply believe in any old consensus. He checks. And that's what the scientific method is about. It's about checking. Now, one final preliminary point. This card was produced by George Monbiot, a kind of fun environmentalist in the UK, a true believer in the global warming superstition, who believes that I am one of the 10 most dangerous global warming skeptics on the planet. So he produced playing cards, and I am the 9 of diamonds, known as the Curse of Scotland. And you'll see me there dressed up in my Gilbert and Sullivan attire, but I can assure you I've been paid not to sing tonight. But one point I do want to make is that you must not believe a word I say. I am not Al Gore. I am not going to tell you what the truth about the climate is. I am simply going to tell you a series of facts from the science and the data and the peer-reviewed literature, and I am going to allow you to draw the conclusion for yourselves that there is no problem with the climate. I am not here to proselytize or preach. I do not expect you to believe me, because science is not a belief system. Science is a rigorous process of inquiry, and I'm going to work you quite hard tonight. We're going to get through a lot of slides, a lot of data, a lot of facts. I make no apology for that, because I want to show you just how strong the case is against the pseudo-scientific gibberish which is perpetrated by the UN's climate panel and Al Gore et hoc genus omne.